I'm super excited actually because today's conversation is one that I feel like a lot of us have been having really recently. Like a lot of people have been having this conversation recently about friendship heartbreak. And I think for me, for the very longest time, I'm 30 now. I probably experienced my first real life friendship heartbreak when I was like 24. I think it was when I was doing my master's, and me and one of my closest friends at the time had an issue. We ended up being friends again, and then that ended last year. We're like, yeah, no, yeah, we should have just let it go the first time around. And I think I used to feel a lot of shame talking about friendship heartbreak because somehow it felt like one of those things where like these are people that are super like close to you and people who you loved and people who you shared your life with, and you not making it work was somewhat your fault. But I also internalized the fact that if I share with someone else, a new person, I felt like maybe they would judge me based on that and be like, oh, if you couldn't even make your friendship with one of your closest friends work, how would you make this work? Or they start to now see you as this like troublesome person. And I'm realizing now that that's coming from a lot of things that was said between these friendships, and that's not really my thing to carry. But even outside of that's not even my thing to carry, it's also coming to a place of understanding that um a lot of the friendships that we've had in our lives were situational. So, for instance, you met them in high school, you met them in uni, and you guys had to be friends because you were in the same environment and you guys were locked in the same places. But as you guys grow older, you guys grow apart. You also see, you realize some of the boundaries that you have that you didn't even know that you had when you said being friends with this person. And maybe they're not okay yet with aligning with those boundaries. Do you understand what I'm saying? And for the sake of your mental health, you just had to let it go. But one of the things that you guys remember when I said I was going to Dallas last week because my cousins were around and I wanted to go spend some time with them. I'm super grateful to have people that I've known so long in my life that they know me very well and they know things about me to the extent of being able to call out patterns in my life and correct those patterns and push me in the right way. So when I went this weekend, one of the things that happens is whenever I have friendship heartbreaks, me and my cousins talk about it and they tell me what I could have done differently, what I could do moving forward, what I did right. And one of the things that they've really been asking me to drill down on, and we've all been drilling down on, not just me, is what pattern can I notice? Can I check out a pattern or go down to each one of these friendships that I've had a falling out with and think about how I made those friends, or if it's like a group of friends, how I made those friends, what's the pattern in those friendship, what could I have done differently? And for the longest time, I feel like I used to always want to form innocent and be like, what could I have done differently? I'm such a good, sweet girl. I'm a perfect person. There was not like, I don't necessarily victimize the other person. Again, my mindset is just like, okay, we're different people and this is how they were raised and it's very different from me and that's fine. But it's also been hurtful because I've just been like, I'm such a sweet person. I couldn't have done anything harmful to them to this extent where like it's led to this much resentment. Do you understand what I'm saying? But last week when I went to Dallas, before last week, context, I had this friend over at my house like 2 weeks ago, and him and I were not like super close friends. We were good, but like we're not super close friends. And he crossed a lot of my boundaries when he was at my place 2 weeks ago. And my cousin was saying how, first of all, you never allow I never Salmat never really allows people in her space. So why was this different that you allowed a man, even like if it was a woman would have understood, but like this is a non-romantic relationship, never been romantic. And I was like, yeah, I was trying to be nice. And they're like, yeah, you've never given people pleaser. I'm trying to be nice. There's something deeper and you need to drill down to it. And I realized that it was because this person was one of the last links that I had to a group friendship. And I feel like I wanted so badly to prove to them and to myself that I was not a bad person, right? And I was not the villain that they were trying to make me out to be. And so I wanted to prove to them that I was not a bad person. So then my cousin was like, okay, but why was it so important for you to, because you have stopped being friends with the last person from the group maybe last year. So why was it so important? And again, let's just drill down. And I'm not going to speak to the other people in the group. I'm not going to speak to what they could have done differently. Like, listen, it feels to me like I started, once I cut off those friendships, I started a brand new life. I've never seen their faces. I've just started like a brand new life, right? But because that was one of the strongest friendship that I had in my 20s, it's very, very important for me to still reflect on how I could have been different and how, not necessarily like regrets, no, but like how can I be better, right, for my future friends? How can I be better for my future self? What did I think that I could have done differently? Like, nothing concerned me with their part and what they could have done differently, but me, right? Because my kids, if I have kids, my kids are also going to, in some ways, my children are going to be my friends. My partner and his friends are going to be my friends. You're going to navigate life. Everywhere you go, you're meeting new people. So how can I just be different? And since this was such a huge part of my 20s, I need to actually reflect on how to, what could have gone wrong. And it was such a difficult conversation for me to have with my cousins and with myself because, again, like I said, I have never given people pleasing in my entire life. That's not a trait that you would think to even describe me with. Okay. However, I realized that the core and the main problem from that group friendship was initiated from one person, and it was mainly because my friendship with that person was one the longest one, but it was for the wrong reasons, and it was from me trying to prove something to them and to myself. Another context is this friend was a friend of mine from uni, and whenever we were in uni, we weren't really tight. We weren't close. There were things about them that I didn't align with. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right from like our first year, our second year, there were things I was just like, yeah, this person is not necessarily my person. But we're very cordial. We had a really decent relationship. And then after school, me being the first one in my class to move, I feel like I kind of grew apart from a lot of people at the time, but also when I was in school. And it's so funny because recently I was talking to someone from my class as well, or she had reached out to me when I made a video about being an introvert. And she was like, she was one of my closest friends then. She was like, that makes so much sense because it just, it's so funny that we didn't understand what it was back then, that you were like extroverted when you were in front of people, but then for the most of it, you just wanted to be by yourself. And it wasn't because you were trying to be mean or snobby. You just liked being by yourself and loved watching movies, and your energy was just great when you were with people, but internally, like, you were always tired. And that's something that I recently shared about myself. But I can see how, like, to some people, I don't even know how to some people that could have come across as me being snobby, because when I'm in front of you, when I go to functions, when it's a great energy. But this person coming back, whenever we had ended school and I had moved here for my master's, they had reached out to me, based on, okay, we're the only ones that are going to be here and we kind of need each other. And it was one of those things also where like there was hesitation, but it was like, okay. And then I remember one thing distinctly is that maybe after our first conversation, post moving, or after our first like interaction in person or something post moving, they said to me that, oh my God, I actually don't see why people think that you're such a uh mean, strong minded, or like you're a villain, or like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you're not such a bad person. And I don't know why, like, you're actually, do you understand? Like, in hindsight, in hindsight, that was a very wild thing to say to someone. Um, and I don't know why they would have said it. I don't want to speak for them in any way. I'm just going to speak for myself. But I had to confront the fact that for the entirety of the friendship, from like 2016 till when it ended, I just was trying my hardest to prove them wrong, that I was not the villain. Like, And the reason why that plays into me introspecting now is because why does it matter what people think about me? If I knew that I wasn't the villain, why did it matter so bad that I wanted to prove them wrong that I was not the villain? And it was because I didn't know myself. I didn't understand and I wasn't fully accepting of myself. I mean, now I know that I'm not the things that I've been. It, I've apologized to you guys last week because I feel like sometimes maybe I'm all over the place, but there's so many ways I could break this down, right? For me, one of the ways, one of the things has really, really bothered me is the fact that um why was it so important for me to prove myself to people? And recently, I think it was this morning, I was talking to one of my friends and one of my other closest friends who has known me almost 15 years. And she was saying maybe it was me wanting to be liked so bad. And I agree. There was a time when I wanted to be liked so bad by people. I was liked. And the thing is that you're liked, you're talked about, but it had never ever been voiced out to me that someone didn't like me. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when then it was voiced out to me by this person that, oh, I don't even see why people don't like you, you're not that bad. For me, it felt like I had to prove that I had to do something to them make people like me. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the honest truth, now that again I'm way better, I'm 30 years old now, I've learned a lot of things. People who like you will like you. People who don't like you, there is absolutely nothing in this world that you can do to change their. Because tell me how I was supposed to convince people who didn't even like me to like me. And that is where my life went wrong for the past, like, since 2016, where I just kept on trying to prove to this person that I'm likable. I'm this very loved person. I need you to love me. I need you to like me, right? But also it meant that I sort of placed them on like a pedestal, and I every time that they'll cross my boundary, I was just like, yeah, they let me tell you, they get away with it because then they're going to somewhat say that I'm not that difficult. I'm not this bad person. I'm not this, and it just kept on going on for years and years and years. And my family would be like, wait, this person did this again. And it's just, yeah, because I need them to know that I'm a good person. I need them to know that I'm a good person. I need them to, and subconsciously also, I started feeding their own insecurities, right? So the things that they were insecure about, because I wanted to be this great person to them, I started like feeding into their insecurities, and maybe they didn't feel. What's an example I can give? I'm struggling with an example because it's like my friend was telling me this morning that I had a habit with this friend of just overextending and over wearing my heart honestly for them because I was trying so hard to show them that I was this great person. I was trying so hard to also try to balance them out so that it would be like I was saved, like, so because I was saving them, I was a great person and I was not a villain. And then when we started forming like a group friendship, you can imagine how this was all going down. You can imagine how this was all going down as we formed group friendships. And now that I actually even think about it, there were so many situations where this person will outrightly throw me under the bus or try to make me seem like a bad person to the group. And for me, it would have still been, yeah, no, yeah, they still protect me. They probably tell people that they're my mouthpiece. And no, they'll still write for me and tell people that I'm such a great person. So, you know, what? I don't really blame myself though. To be very honest, I don't really blame myself. I don't internalize it anymore. Again, like I said, it's one of those things where now I feel like everybody is going on their own journey and everybody gets to like process it differently and what they could have, if they're processing it and thinking I could have done something differently, fine. If they're not, that's fine. I'm just processing it in my way, and what I think that I could have done differently is just to love and fully accept myself to the point that if someone says that you're the villain, then it's okay. One thing that even now, like, was like a to me this morning was me remembering the fact that this one person came to me with, oh, I don't even see why people don't like you. You're not that bad. Whereas my closest friends from the same situation, like from the same school, I've known for 14, is it 14, 15, 12 years, are from the same class. Not one, not two, not three, not four. Never has it ever been come across that I just was a bad person. Never. And I I I wish that at the time also I had maybe opened up to my other closest friends and not tried to internalize what was said about me. I wish I had been more open with my friends, like, oh my God, this is what this person said, that, people think that I'm a bad person. Because this morning when I was talking to one of my closest friends about it, she was like, she has never been in a space where that has even been a conversation. She has never heard that it's just one of those things where it's been communicated, or it's come across that I like to be like a standalone person. And it's very respectable because people have their, different paths. Like, I've always wanted to just be a standalone person. Like I said, I'll see in public were great, but back I just wanted myself. And so she doesn't know where that would have even come from. And she wished that I would have talked about it. I wish I would have talked about it with her then. So maybe it wouldn't have gotten to the extent that it got to, right? But the long and short of it is that I personally have now seen this as a way of just being like accepting of myself. And if you think that, yeah, I'm a mean person and I don't make friends, and she's a bully, all right, you know, what the funny thing is, and I know every take a shot for every time someone says, what the funny thing is. But you know what the funny thing is, when my friendship with that person eventually ended, one of the things that they referenced again, of course, was that I tried my best for you. I tried to redeem you. I tried my best for you, and I was just always on your side when people don't like you. After everything I did to, like, kind of like, and I was just like, first of all, fuck you, excuse me, but like, fuck you and fuck those people who don't like me. You, all of you collectively, can fucking go to hell. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean by you try to? What what does that even mean? But again, I didn't, it was like I was broken out of like a hole that was had on me. It was like I've come out of, it was like I was free. It was like I was actually free. And from that point on, I was just like, you cannot care what people think about you. And the other end of it is that you want to be like, okay, but you can receive feedback from people if, they think that you have maybe, you have this attitude or whatever. I think it's important for us as human beings to filter where our feedbacks, especially the ones that we're internalizing. I think it's very important for us to filter where that's coming from. If my cousin, for instance, that I've known since primary school, loves me to death, okay, gives me feedback and says, babe, I think that you are a little bit harsh to people. I think that you're this and that. Of course, I'm going to want to look into, okay, where is this coming from? If my friend, the one I spoke to this morning, she gave me some feedback about how, it feels like for the past couple years, I place other people above myself. Not even place them above myself, but like you remember when I said I was wearing like my entire feelings, especially in friendships, on my sleeve, and it was giving, to be honest, between you and I, it was giving low self-esteem. Like, not fully, because I wouldn't describe myself as someone who has low self-esteem. Um, but she gave me feedback, and I was like, oh my God, this person has known me for 15 years. They have loved me through those 15 years. I should probably think about that really deeply and see how I could have done better or how I could do better. But if the feedback is coming from someone who you barely know, girl, first of all, not only why are you taking the feedback to heart, but why do you think that you have to prove them anything? Like, why do you think you have to prove anything to them? And I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. My cousin was like, Sama, that was giving very much people pleasing. Especially because now you thought that you had learned from that situation, which is funny. It's very, very funny because I assumed that I had learned from that situation until the past 2 weeks, when then I allowed someone come in my space just because they were from that situation and I wanted to prove them right. And I actually had not learned. Hopefully now that I'm voicing it out and I'm talking about it, this is like final for me. Thankfully, that's like the last person from the group that I have to deal with going forward. But hopefully now that I am voicing it out, I'm actually going to take my own thoughts and feelings and what's the word? Going forward, just move on from that situation. Like that is it. Now you have to move on. Now you have to move on because it's like, why did their opinion of me matter so much that I had, like, why did why did it matter so much that I was a good person to people who didn't know me? Like, I've never described myself with the word people pleaser. So now, because I feel like there's been like shame associated with being called a people pleaser because it feels like you don't have a mind of your own, or you don't want to like, you're not solid, or you're not like, I don't know, people pleaser, just that word just is very shameful to me. I don't know why a lot of my emotions are around shame. It's a human thing for me. I think that's one of the feelings that is very predominant for me, and it might also stem from a place of like low self-esteem. I don't know, listen. I don't know, but like I just always felt like the word people pleasing has a very shameful like connotation to it, right? Didn't want to be described as a people pleaser, but my cousin was like, you know what? We'll say that you were seeking validation. So going forward, I'm just like, yeah, I was seeking. That sounds a little bit more, nice and So I was seeking validation from this person who and had told me that, oh, people think that you're this main person, and like, why did it matter? I know that I talk about it every time, right? But ever since I came and I think that that's one of the reasons why the situation 2 weeks ago really just bothered me and hurt my feelings so deeply, because ever since I came into myself and came into understanding who I was, and that it's okay that people are going to think that I'm a mean person. It's okay for people who don't probably have the boundaries of their own, or people who want to like be um step out of your boundaries. It's okay for them to not necessarily align with you. Ever since I came to like accept me, and I've like, well, let me not say accept, but I'm starting to like accept who I was. I have never felt this much love in my life. I'm not even joking. It feels very, it feels weird to say, but like the outpouring of love that I've gotten, even from so-called past classmates, that, oh my God, you're doing such a great job. Oh my God, you inspire us. Oh my God, you people who I've watched from a distance, people who have watched me from a distance, but they've watched me for so long now in how I'm. And I feel like to a very large extent also, it's like when people don't know who they are personally, it's very easy for them to have a prejudgment of you. Like it's very easy for them to also like carry prejudgments of you, right? And then try to enforce that on you. And then if you don't know yourself too, that's it. That is like literally like the blind leading blind, because you don't know yourself enough to know if you're a mean person or a nice person or a sweet person. And you're coming to tell me that I'm a mean person, or do you understand? If you have fully accepted yourself as a person, I don't think that you'd be going to tell someone else like, you're not gonna go tell someone else that, oh, I can see, especially someone that you're trying to be friends with, that, oh, I can see, I can't even say why people don't like you. You're not. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it would just have been like, oh, that girl, she's not a nice person. If you know me enough, oh, that girl, she's not a nice person. I don't want to be friends with that because our boundaries are not the same. And you step back. There's no need for, oh, I can see. Are you seeing what I'm saying in essence? And I think that this was such a good it was such a good um it was such a good introspection. I really appreciate the fact that I was able to do the introspection, because the bottom line of it was that I need to just be okay with the names that people who don't know me call me. I need to be very, very okay with being a bad person. I need to be very, very, very okay with not being liked by the entire world. I need to allow the people who love me, and not focus on people who don't love me. Like, there is no point. Like, how do you even prove to somebody who does not like you? How do you make them like you? How? Do you understand? In our domestic lives, it's like in romantic relationships, we meet men all the time that after talking to them, 1 minute we're like, you know what, I don't really like this person, I don't want to date them, this is not the person I want in my future. Why can't it be the same in friendships where I meet this person and I'm like, yeah, no matter how much like they like me, I don't want to be friends with this person, I don't like them. And that should have been, in my case, that should have been okay. Like, I've known this girl, I don't want to be friends with her. So now, because she now said that, and now because she now said that, oh, I see why people don't like you, and now I have to prove to her a point, and I have to prove a point to her and to those people also that who knows if they're even imaginary, okay? Who knows if they're imaginary that they have to like me? And it's just, I'm so grateful to get to this point. uh, Someone, I'm actually so giddy because I feel like every day, every week, I just have like internal conversations in my head, and I'm continuously like learning and healing and growing, and just so many light bulbs are going into my head. I'm like, oh my God, this is why this happened. And going forward, this is how, you can live to be better, and share this with people. Maybe someone is going to resonate, maybe someone is going to relate to this, maybe this is going to help someone who's younger, who is also going through like a similar thing. And I'm just so freaking excited because it feels so great to just like let it out and just, uh, that's super nice. Anyways, today I didn't really get to do a lot because I was talking so much. And I just wanted to say also that last week a lot of people reached out to me about the episode last week. That really just like warmed my heart because I was struggling with putting out the episode last week because I was just like, okay, nobody's listening. But I was just like, Zama, you yapper, just go and yap your yap and post it and leave it alone. But like, I promise you, like 10 people reached out to me with very positive feedback. There were comments on my YouTube, and it just made me super emotional. It made this whole thing worth it for me. And I'm also open to like suggestions on what like you want me to talk about, or what you, and I'm not coming talking about them from a place of me being an expert. No, where I'm processing it just as I'm going, as I'm maturing, as I'm healing, as I'm, talking to other people also, I'm processing it with you guys. So if you have conversations that you think that you want to hear us like process and talk about, I'm very much open to suggestions. I'm open to like, the feedbacks. I love hearing feedback from you guys. I'm super excited. I hope that this episode did not come across as me trying to victimize the other person, my friend in this question, because that was far from what I was trying to do. I called out the fact that I have issues and I'm going to therapy to sort out my issues. But this was just one of those things that I was like, okay, you need to really deep dive into your friendships, and particularly the ones that started the whole thing, and what you could have done differently. And like I said, what I could have done differently was not to seek validation from people, to have owned me as a person, to fully accept myself, and so that when other people are trying to define what I am, it's like a okay, thank you but no thanks, I know exactly what I am. And the other side of it is that if that feedback is coming from people who I trust, people who I love, people who I know that want the best for me, I can take that and introspect on how I can be a better person. So yeah, this was so much fun. I always have so much fun when I talk. I have such a good time when I talk. I'm such a freaking yapper. But thank you for listening. I'm super excited. And I will talk to you guys next week. It's my mom's birthday next week, Friday. So I'm going to talk about like my mom, not her life, because girl, that's her business. That's her business. But like just how she helped me to become who I am. And it's kind of different from um regular or your mom. She didn't like it's we'll talk about it next week, Sha, because yeah, all my delusions came from my mother, and I just want to talk about it with you guys. So I will talk to you guys next week. I'm so excited, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.